In 1968, the world of American coinage changed in a way few collectors fully noticed at the time. The United States Mint was racing to keep up with millions of Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins being struck each day, satisfying a rapidly growing population and a booming economy. Most people never paused to notice anything unusual. They spent these little bronze pieces on newspapers, telephone calls, and a morning coffee. But hidden among them, as many collectors now suspect, may be one of the most astonishing rarities in modern numismatics, a Philadelphia-struck 1968 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark. A piece that some believe could command a value approaching $1 million in today's high-stakes marketplace. Before we go further, pause for a moment and picture this, the smallest coin in your pocket. Something so ordinary that it barely earns a second glance, holding the power to alter someone's portfolio, legacy, or financial destiny. This isn't just a story about copper. It is a story about timing, perception, and the thin line that separates common circulation coinage from misunderstood treasure. Collectors often talk about the 1968 phenomenon in hushed tones. After the Great Mint Mark freeze of 1965-1967, when the U.S. Mint removed mint marks entirely to discourage hoarding during a coin shortage. The marks returned in 1968, Denver with its proud D, San Francisco with the delicatesse, and Philadelphia, traditionally unmarked except on certain denominations. But when mint marks resumed, something peculiar happened. A very small number of Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins surfaced without mint marks where one should have appeared. Each one became a spark of curiosity, like discovering a page missing from a familiar book. Was it a minting error? An experimental die? A transitional artifact from the policy shift of the decade? And here's where things get thrilling. Collectors who specialize in mid-century American coinage know that transitional anomalies often escalate in value dramatically. History has proven this. The 1943 bronze cent, the 1965 silver quarter, and others transformed what looked like ordinary spending coins into museum-level artifacts worth fortunes. A 1968 unmarked cent, struck when mint marks were supposed to return, fits that pattern perfectly. Imagine someone in 1968 grabbing a handful of pocket change on their way to the gas station, completely unaware that one of those coins could someday pay for retirement. This is the psychology of coin collecting at its finest, the blend of nostalgia and mystery. Every collector dreams of being the person who spots what everyone else overlooked us in the early days. Nobody was looking closely. Bulk coins moved into circulation mixed with tens of thousands of identical pieces. A rare few slipped through, and most disappeared into old pockets, kitchen drawers, and forgotten coffee cans in basements across America. Think about how many heirs today are emptying their parents' old cigar boxes, completely unaware that a single small bronze artifact inside could sell at auction for enough to buy a modest homes. Now here is where the story begins to turn. In the modern numismatic auction market, the search has intensified. High-grade, anomalous 1960s Lincoln cents have shown the ability to command extraordinary prices. Professional grading services have seen submissions from hopeful collectors who understand that if even one 1968 Philadelphia-struck Lincoln 1-cent coin, with no mint mark, surfaces in pristine condition, the auction houses will react like hawks circling a fresh opportunity. Market speculation suggests valuations reaching into the hundreds of thousands, even whispers of $968,000 or more if the right bidder decides. They simply must own the ultimate prize from the era. Collectors are motivated not just by profit, but by legacy. Many seasoned investors in the rare coin world are in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, people planning estates, diversifying assets, or building heirloom collections meant to outlast them. They know that one exceptional discovery can change both the financial and the emotional story attached to a collection. If you're a collector, you know that moment, sitting at a desk, flipping through holdered coins, and realizing you might be holding something only a handful of people in history have ever touched. But before we reveal the deeper historical significance of 1968, let's drop in a quick pattern interrupt. Did you know that some U.S. Mint employees in the 1960s kept personal logs tracking die changes, and that many of these records were never officially published? This adds a layer of intrigue. It means that some anomalies, such as a missing mint mark, might never be fully explained in official government documentation. That uncertainty fuels desire in the market because collectors do not just chase coins. They chase stories, mysteries, and unanswered questions back to the bigger landscape. The year 1968 was a transitional crossroads. The nation was dealing with cultural upheaval, financial pressure, and changes in metal usage. The mint itself was evolving, shifting production loads between manufacturing centers and experimenting with die preparation and mint mark placement. Any disturbance in this environment could have produced a die that made a small batch of 1-cent coins without the required mint mark, unnoticed, untracked, and immediately absorbed into circulation at, and here is the cliffhanger. If such coins exist, how many? 500? 50? 10-1. The absence of confirmed population counts only increases the potential value. Ask any veteran collector. Rarity is powerful, but uncertainty is even more potent. When nobody knows the true number surviving, demand climbs because buyers are competing for something that may never appear again. Auction houses thrive on these moments. If one such 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln set in gem condition, complete with blazing original surfaces and sharply struck details, crosses the block, bidders won't just be buying a coin. They will be buying bragging rights, the right to say they own the undisputed outlier of modern cent production. That is how 6-figure and 7-figure sales happen. Investor psychology also plays a role. Traditional markets ebb and flow. Stocks rise and crash. Interest rates move. Real estate inflates and deflates. Rare coins, however, have a magic that no other asset class offers: permanence. Industrial metals corrode. Paper currency can be replaced. But a bronze artifact struck in 1968, surviving half a century in remarkable condition, is not replaceable. There will never be more of them. And that scarcity, that finality, is what makes serious collectors willing to pay extraordinary amounts. Here now, shift perspective for a moment. Imagine yourself on a quiet evening, sitting at a kitchen table with a lamp shining down on a scattered pile of old change. You pick up a 1968 Lincoln cent and look closer than you ever have before. You get that chill, the collector's intuition, the what-if moment that only a true numismatist knows. You examine the field, the portrait, the date, and then you realize there is no mint mark. Maybe your heart starts racing. Maybe you grab a magnifier. Maybe you feel that small spark of excitement that reminds you why you became a collector in the first place. Not for the money, though that doesn't hurt, but for the thrill of discoveries. Will your coin be the one to shake the auction world? Could you be holding the piece that crosses the block for $968,000 or more? This is not impossible. Someone found the first 1943 bronze cent in pocket change. Someone pulled a 1965 silver quarter from circulation before the world realized what it was. History has rewarded the observant, the curious, and the hopeful. And that brings us to the heart of this message. The next major American numismatic treasure may not be locked in a museum. It may be sitting in a coffee can, in a drawer, in a forgotten jar of change, waiting for the right set of eyes. A future millionaire might not need a metal detector, high-finance degree, or million-dollar bankroll. They might simply need patience, a detail-oriented eye, and a willingness to check every coin others ignore. If you are a collector, this is your reminder. Keep looking. Preserve your finds. Submit the promising ones. Study mint history. Share discoveries with fellow enthusiasts. Because coins like the mysterious 1968 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark do more than sit in albums. They inspire an entire generation of collectors to keep searching for the extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary. And that, perhaps, is the greatest treasure of all. Imagine finding a humble cent that sells at auction for nearly $1 million. It has happened. And tonight, we unravel how such a coin, a 1971 Philadelphia minted Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark, transformed from pocket change into a prize worth more than $963,000, not because of gold, not because of silver, but because of a flaw, a perfect, beautiful, numismatic accident, the kind of error that changes an ordinary coin into a historical artifact. Before we reveal what makes the rarest surviving example so valuable, ask yourself something. How many times have you handled a coin without really seeing it? Not just looking, but truly seeing it. And in numismatics, true wealth often hides in plain sight, only recognized by the few who look closer. who ask questions, and who understand the deeper truth of collecting. The greatest fortunes are built not by what others overlook, but by what only 1 in 1,000 have the patience to notice. This is the story of the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, and why collectors, investors, historians, and auction houses treat it not just as currency, but as a whisper from the past. The year 1971 was the beginning of a seismic change in American coinage. The United States was undergoing an economic recalibration that would soon end the gold standard entirely. New equipment, new dies, and new pressures in the minting process created an environment ripe for rare production errors. Most Philadelphia minted Lincoln cents dated 1971 are completely ordinary. They are simple copper alloy coins bearing the iconic portrait first introduced in 1909 to honor Lincoln's centennial. But somewhere among the mass of presses in the Philadelphia Mint, a few plackets were struck with dies that were not aligned or prepared correctly. The result: a small number of coins displaying what serious collectors call a double die obverse, dramatic doubling on the inscriptions. Particularly Liberty, the date 1971. The phrase "in God we trust" this doubling is not the soft shadowing of machine doubling, but genuine die doubling, a visual echo created when the master die itself received more than one impression slightly out of position. It is sharp, bold, unmistakable when you see it. These rare examples became the holy grail of 1970s Lincoln cents. Most owners never knew what they had. Many were spent, many lost. Some sat in jars in garages and attics for decades, and a tiny handful resurfaced only when collectors decades later noticed the magnificent error on the obverse and realized what it meant at micro-cliffhanger. And then came the auctions. And auction houses do not get excited easily. A numismatic marketplace is not emotional. It is analytical. It values rarity, condition, and demand. But the collectors who fuel that marketplace are emotional. They connect with coins the way historians connect with ancient manuscripts, deeply, personally. Passionately, the finest known 1971 double die no mint mark Lincoln cent stunned buyers when one brought market values soaring toward the unimaginable, values reported in the hundreds of thousands, even approaching 7 figures for the best preserved examples. Why such a dramatic price escalation? Because serious collectors chase population rarity. Few survivors exist. Strong die doubling. The visual error is pronounced and unmistakable. Historical relevance. It represents a turbulent shift in minting technology. Registry pressure. The top collectors cannot share the top spot. Someone must own the best, and when do wealthy collectors want the same coin? The price does not rise. It erupts. This emotional phenomenon drives auctions. And it is why seemingly ordinary American coinage can suddenly surpass values more associated with luxury real estate than pocket change. Let's pause with a simple, almost humorous question. How many of us have thrown away $1 million inside a Coinstar machine? If that thought made your stomach twist just a little, good. That feeling, the fear of missing out, is exactly what keeps collectors searching. Because the truth is, in the world of coin collecting, discoveries still happen, not 200 years ago, not buried in shipwrecks, but inside drawers, coffee cans, and childhood piggy banks. But there is more to this story than price. The 1971 Philadelphia Lincoln cent is a subtle lesson in collector psychology. Most valuable coins do not look valuable at first glance. The human brain evolved to ignore familiar objects, and there is nothing more familiar than a cent. We have been conditioned to overlook them. Collectors who succeed train their minds differently. Their instinct becomes pause, look closer. They understand that wealth is often invisible until someone reveals the truth behind it. This applies to coins, but also to business, investing, and legacy building. The 1971 double die cent is not merely a numismatic rarity. It is a metaphor for opportunity itself. Opportunity rarely announces its value. It whispers, softly, quietly, in copper and patina. So what should collectors look for? Imagine holding the coin under a magnifier. Liberty shows thick doubling, almost like a ghostly second inscription. The date looks as though it was struck twice. The motto above Lincoln's head is bold, doubled, and crisp. These features, if dramatic and original, may mean the difference between a cent worth 1 cent and a cent worth more than a Ferrari. Collectors often talk about the moment, the instant when the light hits just right, and the error appears and your pulse jumps. That is the thrill that keeps this hobby alive. Now let's add another layer. Market timing. Rare coins move in cycles. When economic uncertainty rises, tangible historical assets become more attractive. We'll seek safety in things that cannot be digitally erased. Land, precious metals, rare art. And numismatic treasures, the 1971 double die maturation cycle is beginning to show the same pattern seen in other legendary era coins. At first, ordinary coins, then recognized by a few collectors, then certified, graded, and population tracked, then heavily competed for. Then prices explode because rarity becomes finite and buyers become affluent. There will never be more, only fewer, and collectors know this. This is why auction records keep rising. It is not hype. It is supply and demand. The most ancient economic force of all now comes the twist, a thought that keeps collectors awake at night. Most of these coins have still never been found. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or overlooked. Every year, the surviving population grows proportionally rarer. And every year, more collectors enter the field educated through online research, YouTube videos, and auction archives, which means this rare coin is not just a what-time story. It is a treasure hunt still happening right now. Picture an older collector, early morning, cup of coffee, soft light spilling across a desk, a magnifier, a small pile of copper cents from the 1970s, slow, meticulous examination, not for profit, but for the joy of the search. Numismatics is not only about money. It is a form of time travel, a way of touching history without glass cases or museum labels. To the serious collector, every rare find is a handshake with the past. The 1971 no-mint-mark Lincoln cent with the double die is especially moving because it was never intended to be rare. It was never designed as a commemorative piece. It became valuable by accident. A human, mechanical, industrial flaw frozen in metals. We live in a world that often chases perfection. Yet in coins, the imperfections are what create legends. That is worth thinking about. So what does this mean for those watching? It means the next great discovery may not be in a treasure chest or auction vault. It might be in a forgotten jar in your house right now. It may be waiting in change from the grocery store. It may be hiding in your childhood coin cup. It means that the line between ordinary and extraordinary is thinner than most people realize. Lift a single coin into the light, and if the date and inscriptions show strong doubling, you may be holding the kind of historical piece that auctioneers announce with hushed voices and bidders pursue with shaking hands. A coin that began life at the Philadelphia Mint in 1971 and might end life as a financial and historical crown jewel. As we close, remember this: not every cent is worth $1 million. But every cent has the potential to teach us something about wealth, patience, opportunity, and the value of looking closer. The great collectors, the ones who build collections others envy, are not the richest. They are the most attentive. They understand that history rewards the curious, and the most valuable finds in American numismatics are rarely the coins nobody owned. They are the coins everybody owned, and almost nobody notices. So the next time an Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark from 1971 lands in your hand, pause. Let the light hit it. Really see it, because out of the millions minted, one of them once sold for nearly $963,000, and the next one might still be out there. That is the heart-stopping reality of modern numismatics. But how does a small coin without a mint mark reach such astronomical value? Why 1978? Why the Philadelphia issue? Why now? Stay with me, because the story is not just about a date, not just about rarity. It is about history, timing, psychology, and a quiet transformation in the collectible coin market that many are only now beginning to understand. Before we go deeper, consider this. How many times have you walked past a chance at fortune because it looked ordinary? That psychological blind spot, what collectors call familiarity blindness, is one of the reasons life-changing rarities are missed every single day. The 1978 Philadelphia Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin is a perfect example. There were hundreds of millions minted. It was one of the last years before major composition changes, one of the final generations before rising metal prices forced dramatic shifts in American coinage. Most Americans spent them without a glance. They were common, uninteresting, and yet, among them, A few extraordinary specimens exist, superb survivors that display flawless surfaces, razor-sharp detail, and the precise striking quality that only the earliest dies of a production run could produce. These are the coins that grading experts and seasoned collectors call condition rarities, not rare because few were made, but rare because so few survived in a state that numismatic professionals consider museum-grade in the world of high-stakes collecting. This is the difference between $1 and nearly $1 million. But let's step back for a moment and explore why this particular coin has captured the imagination of investors and elite collectors alike in the late 1970s. The United States Mint was under economic pressure, political pressure, and the shifting tide of global economics. Copper prices were rising. The cost of producing Abraham Lincoln 1-cent pieces was creeping dangerously close to their face value. There were rumors in collector circles that the government might soon be forced to change the alloy. Forever, collectors who understood the rhythm of coinage history knew a principle that still holds true today. When the composition of a coin changes, the last years of the previous metal become powerful targets. We've seen it repeatedly, the final years of true silver coinage. The last 5-cent pieces before metallic reduction. The transition sense of 1943 during wartime steel production. Collectors love finals, firsts, and transition years because history loves change. 1978 fits this pattern. It stands as the final steady year before the U.S. Mint moved toward cost reduction strategies that forever altered the future of the 1-cent coin. And the Philadelphia issues of the time carried no mint mark, making them anonymous by design, blending invisibly into the marketplace of everyday America. Which brings us to the next psychological trend at play. Collectors are increasingly drawn to what experts call hidden prestige. These are the treasures that nobody notices, not the expensive gold coins locked in display cases, but the unassuming pieces one might find in a pocket, a change drawer, or a bankroll. The emotional impact of turning an everyday object into a life-altering asset is hard to overstate. It is the dream at the center of modern American numismatics, and that dream has been growing stronger for one reason. Stories of ordinary people discovering extraordinary value. A retired machinist sorting through a coin jar finds a near-perfect strike, and it grades out at MS-68 or higher. A hobbyist searching through pocket change spots a flawless field and untouched devices, no bag marks, no handling blemishes, and suddenly they are staring at a 5-figure coin. Now add third-party grading to the equation in today's market. Grading services have become the gatekeepers of elite pricing. A top-grade specimen commands exponential increases. A single jump in grade, say, from Mint State 66 to Mint State 67 can add tens of thousands of dollars in value. And a move one step beyond that has multiplied a coin's market worth to breathtaking levels. This is why the 1978 no-mint mark Philadelphia strike is achieving headlines. The population at the highest certified grades is remarkably small. There might be hundreds of millions of examples in circulation, but surviving specimens in superlative condition museum quality pieces could number only a handful. Some collectors believe that fewer than a dozen coins may eventually qualify for the highest grade tiers that have driven auction prices skyward. Now stop for a moment and imagine. You hold a tiny copper coin minted during the Carter administration. You set it aside because it looked perfect. It sits in a drawer for years. Then one day, the market catches up. The condition becomes recognized. Demand overtakes supply. And suddenly, your 1-cent piece is worth more than most Americans earn in a year. That is not fantasy. It is the reality of the modern numismatic market. But here's the twist: most collectors misunderstand what creates value. They believe the market rewards rarity above all else. But seasoned investors know something more subtle. The market rewards rarity that can be proven. Collectors, dealers, auction houses, and investors all rely on data, population reports, auction records, registry rankings, and verifiable condition history. And when the numbers reveal that only a microscopic number of coins exist in the top condition tiers, prices can leap almost overnight. That is exactly what has happened with the finest known examples of the 1978 Philadelphia Abraham Lincoln 1-cent piece. A bidding war driven by registry competition and investor interest pushed recorded values into the stratosphere at one point above $959,000 for the best known specimen. But before we continue, let me ask you a question and be honest. How many high-grade coins have you handled in your life that you never set for professional grading because you assumed they weren't worth the fees? Collectors everywhere are now wondering the same thing, and this is where the opportunity, perhaps the greatest collecting opportunity of our time lies, waiting while the market is feverishly chasing key dates and vintage rarities. Thousands of elite-grade coins from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s sit unrecognized in private collections. These were the decades when the mint's production numbers were massive. Yes, but the survival rate of pristine pieces is staggeringly small because the coins were not treated as collectibles at the time. They were spent, carried, tossed in pockets, scraped against other coins, stored loose, and handled during decades of normal life. Finding a perfect survivor is like discovering a time capsule, untouched by human circulation, and that leads us to another insight. The modern collector is no longer just a hobbyist, they are a strategist. They understand market cycles, rarity curves, registry competition, auction psychology, generational demand patterns. They know that every major financial shift invites new waves of collectors, new buyers who were children when these coins circulated, but are now adults with disposable income, nostalgia, and the drive to reclaim a piece of their past. The 1978 Philadelphia Abraham Lincoln one set is perfectly positioned for this wave. It is nostalgia. Everyone over 45 handled these coins growing up. It has scarcity in top grades. It has verifiable auction results proving the heights of its potential value. And it has the romance of the ultimate numismatic fantasy, an everyday object worth a fortune. But what makes this story even more compelling is the silent competition unfolding behind the scenes. High net worth collectors, registry competitors, and private investors are quietly bidding for the highest graded pieces. Because they know what many ordinary collectors have not yet realized. The finest certified examples of common date coins often become the elite rarities of the future. It happened with Mercury dimes. It happened with Jefferson nickels. It happened with Washington quarters, and today it is unfolding with late 20th century Abraham Lincoln cents. Now, if you're still watching, here's your moment of truth. Somewhere in America, maybe in a box in your garage, a drawer in your office, or a forgotten bank envelope, there could be a 1978 Philadelphia strike in near-perfect condition, waiting to be discovered before someone else recognizes its potential. Because here is the rule collectors rarely speak aloud, the first ones to act are the ones history remembers. So when you finish this video, take a moment. Look at your coins. Examine them with fresh eyes. Study the fields. Look for untouched devices. Seek out full, bright luster and microscopic perfection. You are not just searching for coppers, you are searching for the possibility of legacy. A single coin, a single decision could alter the story of your collection, your finances, and perhaps your family's future. That is the power of numismatics. They're not just metal, not just history, but discovery, and somewhere out there. One more extraordinary 1978 Philadelphia Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin is still waiting to be found. The only question is, will it be found by you? Some examples have not only skyrocketed in value, they have sold for amounts that defy logic. One recorded sale crossed an unbelievable $954,000. That's nearly $1 million for a coin most people never look at twice. But here is the question that pulls us in. What if one of these almost mythical pieces of American currency is sitting in your home right now? Collectors who have been in the numismatic world long enough know something important. Historic profit nearly always comes not from what the masses chase, but from what the masses overlook. And the 2000 Denver minted Lincoln 1-cent coin is the perfect example of that phenomenon. Many viewers might ask, how could such a modern coin be worth so much? Shouldn't rarity belong only to 1800s gold pieces, Civil War silver issues, or early Philadelphia mint copper strikes? On the surface, that seems logical. But in the modern coin market, especially the post-1980 era, rarity has evolved. The value of a coin today is shaped by a perfect storm of factors. The number minted, the number surviving in perfect, untouched condition demand created by collectors, investors, and auction market psychology special errors, striking anomalies, or blanket defects in the case of the 2000 Denver Abraham Lincoln 1-cent. This coin came out of the United States Mint just as technology was tightening quality standards. Yet mistakes still slipped through. And this is where the story becomes thrilling. Some coins produced that year exhibit dramatic doubled images on Lincoln's profile or lettering. Off-center strikes, extremely high-grade surfaces untouched by circulation, or deeper visual quality characteristics that modern collectors obsess over, such as full red surfaces, mirror-like sheen, and unblemished lusters. These top-tier examples, the ones preserved before they ever hit a pocket, cash register, or lunchroom change tray, became legends auction houses noticed. Prices began climbing, and suddenly the ordinary had become extraordinary. To imagine this scene: a retired man in Ohio, sorting through a childhood coin collection he had nearly given away. Spots a flawless Denver minted 1,000 to Lincoln. He decides, almost whimsically, to send it to a grading authority weeks later. The result comes back, one of the highest grades ever awarded for that issue. The auction that followed changed his life. This is what makes the modern coin market intoxicating to so many enthusiasts. It is not just nostalgia. It is not just history. It is the knowledge that fortune can be hiding in plain sight, disguised as everyday currencies. And let's be honest, there is a powerful emotional thrill in discovering something others walked past without ever knowing for years. Collectors and investors mostly focused on early copper issues, early gold mintages, large silver dollars, and Depression-era rarities. But something shifted in the last decade. A younger generation of collectors with digital access began studying modern coin production under microscopes, high-resolution scans, and numismatic measurement tools. They found that modern minting, for all its standardization, still produced anomalies just as intriguing as older coins. And these anomalies, being scarcer in a highly regulated era, carry immense value when authenticated and graded. That shift changed the market. The era of waiting 200 years for rarity had ended. Now rarity could appear in the present. Let's pause for a moment. A small pattern interrupted. You know that an uncirculated modern coin has a statistically lower survival rate in perfect condition than many coins over a century old? Strange, right? Most modern coins are spent immediately. They're thrown into pockets, scraped by keys, dropped into machines, or rattled around in glove compartments. Few people intentionally preserve new coins the way serious collectors did in the 1800s. That means a modern coin struck yesterday may have a lower chance of surviving in flawless state than a coin struck 120 years ago. Now, this fact is one of the driving forces behind growing values for coins like the 2002 Denver Abraham Lincoln 1 cent. But what specifically pushes examples of this coin into the six-figure and even million-dollar arena? For key pillars shape the market. Number 1, conditional rarity. Not all 2,000 Denver cents are valuable. Only the ones that remain in extreme high grade. Certified condition. The small handful that look practically untouched since the moment they left the press ignite bidding wars. At number 2, special errors or visual traits coins with doubling. Dramatic strikes or planket flaws draw immense attention because investors know unusual specimens stand out in the long-term marketplace. At number 3, registry competition. Major collectors enter competitive auctions to control the best-known examples of specific years and mint marks. Ownership is prestige, and prestige drives price. At number 4, emotional storytelling. Collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying history, scarcity, and the thrill of possessing something almost no one else owns. A rare Denver minted Lincoln in record-setting grade becomes a trophy, and trophies can fetch unbelievable money. That now imagine you are the viewer at home. You empty the change dish on your desk. Dozens of coins spill out. You pick up one Abraham Lincoln 1 cent after another, the bronze-red glint of each passing under the light. 99 of them are ordinary, but one catches your eye. The edges are crisp. The fields appear smooth. The details sharp, untouched, nearly pristine. Out in that moment, the heart beats faster, because this tiny coin, worth 1 cent to the world, could be a gateway to wealth, legacy, or generational financial securities. This moment happens every day. Sometimes it ends with disappointment. Sometimes disappointment turns into determination. And sometimes history is made. Before we continue, let's ask a surprising question. Why do so many serious investors, individuals who could easily buy more conventional assets, choose coins? Because coins combine 3 things very few investments offer simultaneously: intrinsic value, tangible ownership, emotional heritage. Can steal a digital password. A stock certificate can vanish when a company merges. But a rare coin? It lives in the palm of your hand. It can be displayed, passed down, photographed, studied, or held in silence. This physical permanence is incredibly appealing to Americans between 30 and 6'5". Who want assets that mean something, not just numbers on a screen? The 2002 Denver Lincoln is a symbol of that appeal, a modern relic, a reminder that wealth sometimes hides in everyday objects, and the story is far from over. Most Americans who own valuable coins do so unknowingly. Estate sales, inheritance boxes, childhood collections that contain treasures not yet discovered. The numismatic market thrives on new finds, and auction houses are hungry for headline pieces. Right now, dealers and investors are paying attention to modern issues more aggressively than ever. The coin market has expanded globally, and digital buyers from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East now compete in American auctions. Driving prices higher as this is a golden age for finding hidden value. But what happens next? Experts forecast that if economic uncertainty continues and if global collectors increase demand, the highest grade examples of modern coins, including top-tier 2000 Denver Lincoln cents, may soon rise even further. We could be standing at the early stage of a numismatic renaissance, where forgotten pocket change becomes tomorrow's headline. If you've watched this far, you are clearly not a casual observer. You're someone who feels the fascination. Someone who understands that one good discovery can change a family's financial stories. So here's the takeaway. If you possess a 2000 Denver minted Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, examine it closely. Look for flawless color, clean surfaces, crisp edges, sharp lettering, and bold stroke relief. If it looks exceptional, consider professional grading, because the next life-changing auction result, the next headline that shocks the collecting world, might not come from a century-old gold coin. That it might come from something already in your possession. That, and imagine how powerful it would feel to know that among the millions who ignored this tiny copper-plated disc, you recognize its potential. That the world of rare coins is not just about money. It is about being the person who sees what others overlook. Somewhere out there, another 2000 Denver Lincoln cent, a perfect survivor, is waiting to be found. The only question left is, will the next discovery be yours? You've likely held an Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin in your hand countless times. Maybe it was a fleeting presence in your pocket, a metallic whisper among the loose change you carry without thought. But what if I told you that one such coin, minted in the United States in 2006, strikingly unmarked by the Philadelphia Mint, almost invisible in the numismatic landscape, could be worth nearly $1 million today? Yes, nearly $949,000 for a coin that once cost a single cent. Pause for a moment. Imagine that. A coin so familiar, so ordinary, that it has passed through millions of hands, now quietly lurking in someone's forgotten drawer, waiting to rewrite history. This isn't fantasy. It's the hidden truth of coin collecting, where rarity, error, and historical context converge to create wealth beyond imagination. The story begins in the mid-2000s, when the United States Mint was operating at peak efficiency, churning out billions of Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins from Philadelphia and Denver. Each coin was stamped with its identity, a silent signature confirming its origin, except occasionally a coin slipped through without that mark or no mint mark anomaly. To the casual eye, it's a normal penny. To the trained collector, it's a whisper of fate. Why does a missing mint mark matter so profoundly? Consider this. Collectors aren't just acquiring metal. They're acquiring stories, moments frozen in copper and zinc. Each mint mark, or absence of one, is a signature of circumstance. Perhaps a die cracked, a batch was mismanaged, or a quality control inspector nodded off for a brief, fateful moment. The missing mint mark is not an error in the ordinary sense. It's a doorway into a story the coin alone can tell. And stories, in the world of high-value numismatics, are priceless. I think of the psychology behind this. A coin like the 2006 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent without a Philadelphia mark isn't just rare, it's a challenge to human curiosity. It triggers the fear of missing out, a deep, almost primal urge to hold on to what others cannot. Each auction bid becomes a silent competition, a quest to claim a piece of history and with it, a potential fortune. When collectors hear whispers of coins trading hands for hundreds of thousands, even approaching $1 million, the excitement is tangible. It isn't simply a coin. It's proof that diligence, passion, and attention to detail can unlock unimaginable value. But let's not be hasty. There is a lesson in patience here, a reminder that the rarest treasures are often overlooked precisely because they appear so mundane. Picture a coin resting on a dusty shelf in a local coin shop. Or perhaps it slipped unnoticed into a child's piggy bank in 2006. Its copper surface, now subtly aged, bears the quiet dignity of decades. To most, it's a relic of everyday commerce. To an expert eye, it is the key to a nearly $1 million revelation. You might wonder, what makes a modern coin, barely 2 decades old, worth such an astronomical sum? Part of it lies in scarcity. While millions of pennies were minted in 2006, only a handful carry the missing Philadelphia mark. Scarcity alone, however, does not create astronomical value. There is a delicate balance between rarity, historical narrative, and collector desire. This coin occupies a sweet spot, rare enough to be coveted, recent enough that its story is accessible, and tied to one of the most iconic American images, the visage of Abraham Lincoln, the president whose face has inspired generations of citizens and collectors alike that imagine the auction room where this coin first commanded attention. The chatter of seasoned collectors, the subtle nods between dealers who recognize a hidden gem, the sharp intake of breath as the hammer strikes. Every bid reflects not only monetary value, but emotional investment. The room is silent, but for the soft rustle of catalog pages, each potential buyer calculating the risk, weighing the reward. And then, finally, the realization dawns. This tiny disc of metal, a coin that could have been pocket change, is now a symbol of vision, foresight, and the relentless pursuit of legacy. Here's a fascinating nuance often overlooked by casual enthusiasts. Coins like this one embody the paradox of familiarity and mystery. How many of us have paused to examine the coins we handle daily? How many of us have considered that among the millions in circulation, one could be silently extraordinary? This blend of the mundane and the exceptional fuels the emotional connection collectors feel. The thrill is not merely financial, it's almost spiritual. Holding such a coin is holding history, identity, and the rare chance to touch a narrative that spans generations, and yet there's caution in this story. The market is mercurial, sensitive to trends, and deeply psychological. Rarity alone does not guarantee a meteoric rise. Factors like market perception, auction exposure, and historical validation are pivotal. A coin story must be verified, authenticated, and celebrated. Only then does the numerical figure attached to it $949,000 or more transcend mere speculation and become tangible reality. For those who have invested wisely in the past, the results are transformative. For those who hesitate, the lesson is clear. Sometimes the most unassuming items hold the greatest potential. An opportunity favors the perceptive. Consider for a moment the broader significance. Coins are more than investments, they are markers of time, culture, and national identity. The 2006 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent, no mint mark, connects us to a pivotal moment in American minting history, a subtle misstep that nature and human hands conspired to preserve. In every glance at its obverse, we see Lincoln's steadfast gaze, a reminder of leadership, perseverance, and the quiet power of foresight. In every turn of the coin, we glimpse the hidden intricacies of a system that most take for granted, the delicate machinery of the Philadelphia Mint. The precision of dies, the decades-long dedication of numismatists who notice what others overlook, and now, the revelation you've been waiting for. This coin's current market value is not merely a number, it's a symbol of potential. A single, seemingly insignificant Abraham Lincoln 1 cent from 2006, void of the Philadelphia Mint mark, has touched the hearts and ambitions of collectors worldwide. Trading for a sum that could redefine the way we think about everyday objects. It's a testament to the fact that legacy, wealth, and historical significance often reside where we least expect them. So what can you take away from this story? For the collector, it's a call to vigilance, a reminder to look beyond face value. For the investor, it's proof that foresight and patience can yield extraordinary returns. And for anyone who has ever felt the quiet magic of history in the palm of their hand, it's a reassurance that even the smallest artifact can contain vast, untapped power. In the end, the 2006 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent without a Philadelphia mark is more than a coin. It's a secret waiting to be uncovered, a silent witness to decades of history, and a beacon of possibility for those who dare to see beyond the obvious. Whether it rests in a collector's case or a long-forgotten drawer, its story endures, reminding us that sometimes fortune favors the patient, the observant, and the bold, and perhaps in your own hands. A coin might whisper its secrets, too. All it takes is a moment of attention, a spark of curiosity, and the courage to recognize that even in something as ordinary as a penny, extraordinary treasures can lie in wait.